The trophy went to Spain on Sunday night. The paperwork went to Argentina on Monday morning. Less than 12 hours after the most chaotic World Cup final in recent memory, FIFA did the one thing it had spent this entire tournament desperately trying to avoid. It opened a formal disciplinary investigation into the losing finalists. Not a review, not a quiet word, through official channels. A full prosecutor appointed under Article 36 of the Disciplinary Code with the power to hand down bans that apply across every competition on the planet. And here's the question that nobody inside FIFA headquarters wants to answer out loud. Did they actually have a choice? Or is this the performance of accountability from an organization that has spent 5 weeks being accused of giving Argentina every possible benefit of every possible doubt, now scrambling to prove that the final was one step too far even for them? We may never get an honest answer to that. But what we do know is this: Argentina are in serious trouble. The footage is everywhere, the cameras caught everything, and the file that FIFA's prosecutor is now sitting down with is considerably thicker than one bad night in New Jersey. Subscribe right now before we go any further, because when the sanctions land, this channel will break down every single one the moment they are confirmed. You do not want to miss that. Now let us talk about what actually happened, both on the pitch and after the whistle, because both matter and they matter differently. The final itself was not a football match in any traditional sense. It was a war of attrition with a scoreboard attached. Somewhere in the region of 50 fouls, 5 yellow cards, a red card in stoppage time, and an Argentine attacking performance so absent that they finished the biggest game on earth without registering a single shot on target, while Spain accumulated 12. Their entire approach was to foul and disrupt and drag Spain into a contest built around physical confrontation rather than technical quality, hoping that the chaos would eventually deliver the kind of moment that had saved them against Egypt and Switzerland and England across the knockout rounds. It did not deliver that moment. What it delivered was Enzo Fernandez launching studs first through Pau Cubarsi's legs in the dying seconds of normal time, collecting a second yellow card and sending Argentina into 30 minutes of extra time with 10 men. The first player dismissed in a World Cup final since 2006. Ferran Torres scored in the 106th minute. Spain were champions. Argentina were devastated. And then some of them decided to make everything significantly worse. As Spain's players sprinted across the pitch to begin their celebrations, Nahuel Molina did the single most unnecessary thing a losing player can do in the immediate aftermath of a final. As Rodri jogged past him, Molina appeared to punch the Spain captain in the stomach. Not a shove, not a frustrated reaction to a collision, a punch. Rodri stopped, turned, and confronted him. Molina squared up. Eric Garcia arrived to back his captain, and that is when Leandro Paredes, who had spent 120 minutes operating on the very outer edge of what the laws of the game technically permit, arrived and grabbed Garcia by the throat. Then Paredes went after Gavi, forcing him to the ground while Thiago Almada assisted from the side. Nicolas Otamendi positioned himself in Rodri's face and delivered a verbal barrage, accusing Spain of crying to the referees all week. And then it got worse. Argentina's assistant coach, Roberto Ayala, was caught on camera apparently grabbing Garcia around the throat and then appearing to strike Dani Olmo, a member of the coaching staff, not a player in the raw emotion of the final seconds. A coaching staff member engaging in physical confrontation with opponents who had just been crowned world champions. Scaloni, to his credit, was sprinting around the pitch trying to pull his own people away from the chaos, but the damage was being done in front of every camera in a stadium broadcasting to the largest television audience of the entire tournament. Joe Hart on the BBC called it disgusting behavior. Alan Shearer described Paredes throwing multiple strikes at opponents. Gary Neville called it a disgrace, while simultaneously acknowledging his respect for what Argentina had produced across the tournament. These are not people who use those words carelessly. When that language arrives from those voices, it means something specific has crossed a line that most professional footballers recognize even in the worst moments of defeat. Now, FIFA's problem. On Monday morning, the organization confirmed it had opened a disciplinary investigation and appointed a prosecutor under Article 36 of its disciplinary code to examine the post-match incidents specifically. In plain terms, a dedicated investigator with formal powers is now sitting down with the referee's report, the official match documentation, and every camera angle from every position inside MetLife Stadium, and will decide who gets sanctioned and by how much. Molina, Paredes, Almada, and Ayala are all reported to be in the frame, and the name Ayala carries a specific weight that goes beyond individual player conduct. Players losing their composure in the immediate aftermath of a World Cup final defeat is human and understandable, even when it is indefensible. A member of the coaching staff being caught on camera in apparent physical contact with opposing players is a federation-level problem. It drags the Argentine Football Association itself into the conversation about bringing the sport into disrepute. Article 13 of FIFA's disciplinary code covers exactly that: offensive behavior and conduct that violates the basic rules of decency and brings the sport into disrepute. The language in that article is deliberately broad, and it carries the power to impose bans that operate globally across club and international football simultaneously. This is not a domestic league handing out a one-match suspension. This is world football's governing body potentially barring individuals from the game itself. And there is a detail inside the footage that should be making people inside FIFA deeply uncomfortable for reasons that go well beyond Argentina's conduct. When Paredes grabbed Garcia by the throat, the referee's communication system briefly displayed that Paredes had been shown a red card. Then it disappeared. The red card was quietly removed, and FIFA confirmed that no disciplinary action was taken against Paredes on the field at the time. Let that sit for a moment. An apparent chokehold, which under the laws of the game is an automatic dismissal, was flagged by the officiating system during the incident and then erased in real time. Whether that was a genuine technical error or something that requires a different kind of explanation is a question this channel cannot answer definitively. What it can say is that the optics are catastrophic for an organization that has spent this entire tournament defending itself against accusations of inconsistent officiating. The world watched what appeared to be a red card appear on official systems and then vanish. FIFA is now investigating after the fact the precise conduct its own officials declined to punish in the moment. That is not a comfortable position to be in. Now, add the second investigation because one was apparently not enough. After the semi-final victory over England, Argentine players celebrated with a banner reading "Las Malvinas son Argentinas." The Falklands are Argentine, smuggled into the stadium by supporters and held up on the pitch during the celebrations. FIFA's regulations explicitly prohibit political statements from players and teams in the context of official matches. The organization has already begun potential disciplinary proceedings against the individuals who held the banner, reportedly including Christian Romero, Giovanni Lo Celso, and Lisandro Martinez. The Argentine Football Association is facing a probable fine. 2 open FIFA cases against the same team from the same tournament running simultaneously. A disciplinary dossier that is getting thicker by the day. And here is where the history becomes directly relevant to understanding what happens next. This is not a first offense. Not even close. After the 2022 World Cup Final, Argentina were charged over their conduct, specifically Emiliano Martinez's gesture with the Golden Glove trophy and the dressing room mockery of Kylian Mbappe, which circulated globally. The total punishment was a fine of approximately $18,000. No action against any individual player. Pocket change for a national federation that had just won the World Cup. The Falklands banner has its own precedent. Argentina were fined roughly $20,000 for displaying the same message before a friendly in 2014. 12 years later, the banner appeared again at a World Cup. The fine clearly did not function as a deterrent. Enzo Fernandez, the same player whose red card left Argentina with 10 men for the entirety of extra time in the final, was the subject of a disciplinary process after posting a video of a squad chant that the French Football Federation condemned as racist and discriminatory following the 2024 Copa America. He apologized publicly. He played every minute of this World Cup and started the final. Emiliano Martinez was banned for 2 matches for offensive behavior during World Cup qualifying. He was Argentina's goalkeeper in the final and produced 11 saves, a record for the fixture. Individually, any one of these incidents can be contextualized or explained. Together, they read as a pattern. And bringing the sport into disrepute is a charge that accumulates weight when a prosecutor can point to a file this consistent and this extensive. Now, the genuine fairness question, because this channel does not deal in one-sided verdicts. FIFA does have teeth when it chooses to use them. Luis Rubiales was banned from all football for 3 years over the forced kiss at the Women's World Cup, an unprecedented punishment that demonstrated the organization's willingness to act decisively when the public pressure was sufficient and the case was unambiguous. Luis Suarez received a 4-month ban for biting an opponent at the 2014 World Cup, a suspension severe enough to affect his club career significantly. UEFA banned Alvaro Morata and Rodri for a match each over a chant following the Euros. The precedents for meaningful punishment exist within world football's institutional framework. The question is whether FIFA applies those precedents to the most commercially valuable and globally beloved team in the sport with the same consistency it applies them to everyone else. That is the tension at the heart of this investigation, and it is the tension that makes this FIFA's problem as much as Argentina's. Punished seriously, and FIFA has disciplined the team of Lionel Messi, the athlete who generated more broadcast interest and more emotional investment in this tournament than any other single individual, in the immediate aftermath of his likely final World Cup appearance. The optics of that in the context of everything else this organization has navigated across 5 weeks are complicated. Punish lightly, as the 2022 precedent suggests is the likely outcome, and FIFA confirms what a significant portion of the watching world already believes. That Argentina operate under a different set of rules than everyone else. That the fine is the penalty, and the penalty is affordable, and nothing fundamentally changes. There is no clean exit from this corner. FIFA built the corner themselves, and now they have to stand in it. The silence from the players involved has been its own kind of statement. Paredes posted a long emotional message to Argentina supporters in the days after the final. Pride, love, giving everything for the badge, calling it an honor to represent the greatest Argentine team in history. The brawl he stood at the center of was not mentioned once. Enzo Fernandez posted about heartbreak and honor and the privilege of wearing the shirt, with no reference to the red card that left his teammates a man down for 30 minutes of a World Cup final. Romero, one of the banner holders now under FIFA investigation, posted about hurt and commitment and starting over. Beautiful messages, passionate messages, genuinely felt, no doubt, and a collective silence on the specific conduct that now has a FIFA prosecutor working through camera footage, frame by frame. You cannot investigate a thing that, according to the people who did it, never happened. Scaloni did speak honestly. At his press conference, visibly emotional and clearly exhausted, he admitted Spain were the better team, acknowledged the result was deserved, and said something that carried more weight than anything any of his players had yet managed. Losing this, he said, hurts me deep in my soul. He choked before finishing the sentence and left the room. That was the response of a man genuinely broken by the gap between what he had built and what the final had delivered. Whatever his players did after the whistle, the manager himself showed what losing like a champion is supposed to look like. The irony sitting underneath all of it is almost too neat for a tournament this complicated. Argentina came to this World Cup to defend the title they won in 2022. They produced arguably the most dramatic individual tournament performance in the sport's history from Messi, who accumulated 8 goals and 4 assists while dragging his country through 3 separate comeback scenarios across the knockout rounds. They reached a second consecutive final, something almost nobody in the modern game manages. And they lost it not through any lack of effort or belief, but through a defensive performance so suffocating that Spain gave them nothing to work with and a Ferran Torres finish in extra time that Emiliano Martinez could not prevent despite 11 saves. The trophy went to the team that deserved it. That part is not complicated. What is complicated is everything that came after the whistle, the punches, the throat grabs, the coaching staff involvement, the banner, the vanishing red card, the second FIFA investigation running simultaneously with the first, the player statements that address the emotion of defeat without acknowledging the conduct that produced 2 separate disciplinary cases. Argentina left New Jersey as runners-up in sporting terms. In disciplinary terms, they left with a dossier that will take months to fully process. The nightmare, as this channel has been documenting across 5 weeks of the most controversial World Cup in recent memory, did not end with the final whistle. For FIFA and for Argentina both, it just moved into a different phase. When the prosecutor's report lands, this channel will break down every sanction the moment it becomes official. Make sure you are subscribed because that conversation is coming and it is going to be significant. Where do you land on this? Should FIFA come down hard with lengthy individual bans? Or does losing the final represent sufficient punishment? Drop it in the comments. I read everyone.